Hello, this is Attorney Brown Pendergraft with the Pendergraft firm, and I just thought I'd do a quick video on the legal requirements for online notarizations here in Maryland during the state of emergency. So, on March 30th, Governor Hogan passed an order authorizing electronic notarizations in Maryland in response to COVID-19. So his response actually, or this order was actually a response to local real estate agents Sherman Hardy's change.org petition titled "Maryland Needs Electronic Closings for Real Estate During Coronavirus." But not only is this great for, I guess, real estate agents and investors or anyone looking to buy property or buy perhaps sell property, it's also good for attorneys like me that are creating or preparing documents that require notarization in order to be effective, such as powers of attorney. There's a lot of people that need wills or estate plans done that are suffering from COVID-19 essentially, and they need their healthcare documents done. So this is also great for people like me that are preparing these documents. So before reading the order, I was under the impression that electronic notarizations was just as simple as notaries doing what they normally do, just using Skype or Zoom. Um, and I guess in some ways it is that simple, but there are a few additional steps that I guess particularly notaries need to be aware of to ensure that their notarizations are actually going to be legally effective. So so I have the order pulled up in front of you right now, authorizing the remote notarizations, and I'm going to run through these additional requirements that again I think notaries or anyone who can benefit from electronic notarizations, such as myself, perhaps real estate agents, that we should know. All right. So initially, first page, these are just the whereas clauses. To summarize that for you, this is whereas. What it's saying is whereas we are in a state of emergency right now, there's a disaster going on, and this is what we're going to do in response to it. This is, we know they require essential notary services, essentially using communication technologies. All right. So now let's jump down into these legal requirements for electronic notarizations. All right, so let's go to number one, communication technology. All right, so we're getting definitions first. So they want you to use a communication technology definition. So this is something that is an electronic device or process that enables the notary publicly to, in real time, view the individual and compare for consistency the information and photos on identification credentials. In other words, this would be using a let's say a computer or a phone in order to go live with the other person. Like that is essentially what they want you to be in real time and view the individual. And the way you do that, at least how people young hip savvy people, you would call that going live. You got to go live with the other person. So examples of software that lets you go live would be FaceTime, Skype, Zoom. Zoom's real hot right now. iSign. I personally use iSign. I like iSign. Google Hangouts. There's plenty of ways that you can go live with the other person. But you have to be able to view the other person in real time, i.e., go live. All right, number two, an individual need not be in the physical presence of a notary public who performs a notarial act if they communicate with each other simultaneously by sight and sound through a communication technology, i.e., you go live. Indicating sight and sound. So you can't just call the person and you can't just see the person. You got to use sight and sound, which is interesting to me. So, like, what if someone can't necessarily communicate by sound, right? What if someone is deaf, or mute? They can't talk. Interesting. I'm not sure how that will work out. We got to look out for them too. We gotta look out for those people too. They're not covered in this. All right. So I'm gonna have to write the governor about that. Let's see. All right. B, communicate to the other side. So they want you to sight and sound. They want you to be live. All right. B, and the notary public is appointed to perform and commissioned to perform a notarial act. So in other words, they're just a notary. That's nothing new. And has notified the Secretary of State of the intent to perform notarial acts facilitated by communication technologies and identifies the communication technologies the notary public intends to use. All right, so here is an additional requirement that notaries need to be aware of. So what this notary needs to do is they need to contact the Secretary of State and say, "Hey, Secretary of State, intend on doing electronic notarizations, and I'm going to do them using my, I guess, my technology I'm using. So I'm using my MacBook Pro, and that's the hardware I'm going to be using, MacBook Pro, and the software I'm going to be using is iSign, or whatever you like to use, but that's what I'm doing. Don't do what I do. You have to tell them what you're using. Whatever it is you're using, you have to notify Secretary of State. So if you're using an iPhone and FaceTime, or you're using an iPhone and Zoom, then they need to know. Or using an Android, Team Android out there, shout out Team Android. Let them know what in Google Hangouts, maybe Android Hangouts. Some of you are out there, but you have to let the Secretary of State know. All right, so moving on to requirement number 3. The notary must personally know the individual or has satisfactory evidence of the identity of the individual by means of government-issued identification. And again, they would have to show you this government identification on the I guess through the you're gonna have to see it. So they're gonna have to show that to you. They're gonna have to hold it up. They're gonna have to hold that up to you, and you have to write it down. But honestly, from this point onwards, let's see, has statutory evidence identify, again, government credential, or B, another form of verification by a credible witness, person appears before the notarial officer and is known to the notarial officer, who can identify on the basis of a passport, driver's license, blah, 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 which can be remotely presented. So in other words, that's nothing new. That's just a regular notarization. So I feel like I can skip that part. So notice, just do what you normally do for that section here, section B. That's just a normal notarization, essentially. But just make sure that you show it electronically as if you would in person. All right, so moving on to number 4. Confirms that the individual made a statement of executed a signature on the same record before the notary public. Blah, blah. Okay. Okay, cool. So they have to I guess what's a good way to say that? Confirms the individual made a statement or executed signature on the same record before the notary public. So okay, so it has to be done before the notary. Again, that's a normal notarization. But I guess they have to confirm it. So you want them to say it. You want them to confirm. So not only you want to see them, I guess, write it. So maybe they can angle their camera down a bit so they can see what they're looking at. And you want them to confirm it and say, hey, I'm gonna say, did you sign that? They have to say, yes, I signed that. All right, cool. Moving down. You want that confirmation. Moving on, point number 5, creates or directs another person to create and retains an audio-visual recording of the performance of the notarial act. All right, so here is an additional requirement. What this is saying is that the act needs to be recorded. Now, it says the notary can create it or direct another person to create the recording. I would recommend that the notaries just create the recordings and keep them. That's what I would do. I think that's the best advice to give here. All right, so notaries, just keep records of your electronic just record them and keep them in a file somewhere. Keep them in the cloud. You want to keep that note. You want to keep that record just like you keep your journal. And point number, I guess, 6, indicates on the certificate of the notarial act. All right, it's important. This is an additional requirement here. So they indicate on the certificate of the notarial act. So where they sign, I guess what they usually say is that that they in fact, let me finish reading the sentence because I finished reading this whole sentence actually. Indicates on the certificate of the notarial act and in a journal that the individual was not in the physical presence of the notary public and the notarial act was performed using a communication technology. All right, so what this is saying is that, generally when on the notarial seal, the part of the notary signs, it says this person personally appealed before me. Can't say that anymore. It doesn't say, you don't want to say that. You want to say that they appeared to me. This was not done. It was not done they didn't personally appear before me. You say this was done using so scratch that out and put, they, I guess perhaps electronically appeared. They appeared before me. Perhaps virtually using a communication technology. So that needs to go onto the notary seal, essentially. You have to, so people know that this was done electronically, putting people on notice of that. And also, they must put in the journal, they must notify that they must indicate this person was not, physically present, that they were electronically present. That needs to be in the journal. And point number 3, this order remains effective until the termination of the state of emergency and the proclamation of the catastrophic health emergency has been rescinded, except as may be rescinded, superseded, amended, or revised by additional orders. All right, so what that last part is saying is that this electronic notarization rule is only going to be in effect until the state of emergency has been terminated, or has ended, or has been rescinded. That being said, I suspect that electronic notarizations are going to be the future. So, get used to it. I think that the laws will be changing to catch up with the times, and electronic notarizations will eventually just become the norm over Maryland. I think that that's going to become, like, I guess, the non-state of emergency law as well, but we'll see. All righty. Thanks for watching.